Good morning and welcome to worship. It's good to be together with you again, even though it's not the way we might choose to be together. It's getting into spring now and it's so pretty outside. I hope you've had a chance to get outside with your families and enjoy the flowers and the warmer weather. I was kind of thinking this week about this quarantine and how inconvenient it is, but on the other hand, there's some things that have happened that I've really liked, and one of them is that since my travel schedule is almost non-existent this year, I'm usually going here, there, and everywhere else for the university, that means that, first of all, I get to be with you every Sunday, and secondly, I get to stay home and enjoy all the flowers that are in my yard that I planted. Sometimes I go on a trip and some of my flowers are just starting to bud, and then I get home from the trip and they're getting ready to die. This year I get to see them all. Thinking about that, and that's nice. And another thing that's happened that's really nice is that I've heard from some of your parents and the parents of some of our friends who've moved away are watching our worship videos and our Sunday school videos and doing the Bible verse with Miss Christine, and I just think that that's so nice. And so today when we start worship, I'm going to say thank you to some of our friends for joining us. Let's go ahead and get started. So just like every week, we start by lighting our candle that calls us together. And the fire in the candle reminds us of the presence of Jesus, that we know he's always with us. We can always talk to him. We can always connect with him, but that we're connected all together in a special way when we come together to worship. And so today, I think connected with us are our friends, April and Sanaya and Daniel and Olivia. They moved away to a different part of Missouri with their parents, but they're watching this video with us today. And also some of our friends who moved to Indiana. So we just wanted to say hello and welcome to Ava and Scotty and Logan. We're so glad to be worshiping with you again today. And I hope that you're enjoying your new home and your new friends. Everything's still white, and that means it's still Easter, even though we opened our baskets 2 weeks ago and got our presents. Does anybody still have any candy left? I think we have a little bit at our house. But today, the color is white. And when we look at our Sundays and all the Sundays of Easter, we realize that there are many Sundays of Easter, not just one. And today is the third Sunday of the Easter season. Happy Easter. And it's good to be with you. The stories that we talk about during the Easter season are usually stories that happen between the time that Jesus was resurrected and they found that empty tomb and they were so amazed, and the time then when Jesus ascended into the heavens to be returned to his Father. That's a 40-day period. During that 40-day period, the disciples and Jesus kept sort of running into each other. First Jesus was there, and then he was somewhere else, and then he was with them again. They never knew when he would come back, and they never knew when he would leave. He left and came back in mysterious ways. They didn't really understand it. Sometimes they thought he was a ghost, but Jesus said, no, we had breakfast together. Did ghosts eat? Ghosts don't eat. I ate fish and bread with you, remember, by the sea? They didn't really understand what was going on exactly, but I imagine that during the times that they were together and wondering when they would see Jesus next, that they talked to each other about all the different things that they had heard from Jesus and all the different things that they had learned from Jesus. And maybe they even told each other the stories that Jesus had told them. Jesus told amazing stories. Some of his stories are called parables. And a parable is a special kind of story. It's a story that you like to listen to, and it's fun to listen to, and sometimes they're even funny. But after you hear the story, you realize there's more than just a story here. That you kind of unwrap the story in your mind, and you say it again and again, and you realize that there's a lesson in that story. That kind of story that Jesus told is called a parable. I like to think of parables as presents, gifts from Jesus. And today, we're going to unwrap this parable, this present from Jesus, and see what it is that he has to teach us. I wonder what's in the box. What gift will be given today? Well, we have 1, 2, 3 people, 3 men. Get this, we have some pigs. Pigs. And a road. Where's the parable there? Oh, look, there's a note. It's a clue. It says, look in the Bible. That's always a good thing to do when you don't know what to do next. There's a bookmark in my Bible. It's almost at the end of the Bible. It's certainly in the New Testament because that's where all the parables that Jesus told would be. It's the 15th chapter of the book of Luke, one of the Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. This one's Luke. A lot of my favorite parables are in the book of Luke. This one has 3 parables in one chapter. But I know which one I'm supposed to tell today. Once there was a man who said such amazing things and did such wonderful things and told such marvelous stories that everyone wanted to listen to what he had to say. And this is one of the stories. A certain man had 2 sons. And one day, his younger son came to him and said, "Father, give me my half of your inheritance. You know how when you die, you're going to split your property between me and my brother? I want mine now." We don't know why he wanted it now. Maybe he was just tired of being in his father's house and he wanted to be his own boss. It must have made his father feel sad. But I guess he kept nagging, and finally his father said, "Fine then, just have it. Just have your share of the property." And a short time after that, this young man, who was suddenly very rich, took all of his money and went on a journey to a far land. And while he was there with all of his money, he had a really good time. He had enough money that he could buy whatever he wanted, go wherever he wanted. He could go to the sports things, like in the Bible time, they had chariot races and they had wrestling matches, and he could go and he could take other people with him, and he could go to restaurants, taverns, and he could eat the best food, and he could go to the best parties. He just had so much fun while he was there. And he made so many friends who just really wanted to hang out with him. And he spent money like crazy. But eventually, all of the money ran out. And when he would go to his new friends and say, "Want to just hang out?" they would say, "Where are we going?" And he would say, "I don't know, I don't have any money." And they would say, "No, thank you." And eventually he was all alone because he realized that his friends didn't really like him. They just liked the money that they spent and the good times that he bought for them.
And there he was, all alone in a strange land with no money. Eventually, he had to find a job. He didn't really have any skills. He didn't know how to do anything. So finally, he was forced to take a job for the foreigners, tending the pigs from our farmer. That's not a job that pays a lot of money. So even though he had a job, he still didn't have enough money to pay his bills, a place to live, shoes, something to eat. And he got more and more lonely and more sad and most sorry about what he had decided to do with his life. And one day, he was just utterly miserable. And he was sitting there in the pig pens with the smelly pigs. And they brought the food that he was supposed to feed the pigs. And he looked at the food and he was so hungry that he almost ate the pig food. That's how hungry he was. And then he just came to himself. He came to his senses. And he started thinking, this is nuts. Why am I doing this? Why am I living like this? I could go home to my father. He has servants in his big house, his big comfortable house. Those servants get treated better than I'm getting treated. I should go home to him and say, Father, I've sinned against heaven and I've sinned against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son, but could I be a servant in your house and just get a salary and maybe something to eat once in a while? And as he thought about it, that just seemed to be the best thing to do. And so he said goodbye to the pigs and he started on the long road home. I'm sure he wondered how his father would treat him. Whether his father might say something like, I already gave you your share. We got nothing left. Everything belongs to your brother. He knew he'd really messed up, and he wondered what would happen. But while he was still a long way off, his father was watching down the road. He saw his son coming. And his father was overjoyed because it had been so long since he'd heard from his son. He'd even begin to think that maybe he died. And he ran down the road to meet him. And he hugged him and he kissed him and he told him how glad he was to see him. But the young man was still sorry. And the young man knew that he'd messed up. And so he apologized to his father. And he said, Father, forgive me. I've sinned against you and I've sinned against heaven. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son, but could I come and be your servant? And his father just laughed. He said, Son, I thought you were dead and you're alive. This is the happiest day of my life. Please come. I'm going to tell everyone that you're home. We're going to have a welcome home party. We're going to just bring the whole neighborhood together. We're going to have a feast. I'm going to kill the fatted calf. I am so excited. And that's what they did. And while they were preparing the feast and the father was spreading word far and wide to come to their home and celebrate the fact that his son, who he thought was dead, was now back and had returned, the older son, who had been working in the fields, saw all the commotion in the father's house. And when he went to the door and he saw his brother there, he was really upset. He wouldn't come in. His father came outside and said, Son, what's wrong? And the older son said, Why are you having a party for him? Like he's a wastrel. Look at, Father, I've been with you my whole life. Every day I go to work in the fields. I've never disobeyed you. I've always done exactly what you asked. You never even killed a goat for me. You never asked me if I wanted a party. But this son of yours that has just done so many horrible things, you're acting like you're just having this big party. You're killing the fatted calf. You're wasting everything on him. Why are you doing that? And the father said, Can't you just rejoice with me? Can't you just be happy that your brother of yours, this brother of yours, whom we all thought was dead, has come back and is alive? Can't you just celebrate with us? I have so many questions about this parable, so many things to unwrap.
I wonder if the older brother ever forgave his younger brother. I wonder if the younger brother stayed home and worked hard and learned his lesson. I wonder how the community reacted when he came back, whether they were sorry to see him or glad to see him. All those things are part of a parable. Now, we're going to do more parables between now and Ascension Sunday, but I have a kind of something special for you. Jesus told so many stories, and there's so many parables. I bet you can think of some now. So I'm choosing 5 of them, and I'm going to make a poll on the Facebook page of all the 5 parables that we might choose, and I'm going to let you kids vote on which one you want to have for next Sunday. So underneath this video, if you're watching it from the Children's Ministry page, you'll see a poll, and I'll have 5 options, and you can vote. And if there's like 3 kids in your family, I think you can vote 3 times. I'm not sure. Maybe just 1 vote. Maybe you'll have to come to terms with it. But if you can tell me in the comments why you want that parable rather than one of the other parables, I'm going to count that as 2 votes for that parable. So we're going to let you vote between today, Sunday, and next Thursday, because I need a day or to prepare it for Sunday so we can have it again. So I'm really excited to see which parable we'll be telling next Sunday. It'll be all up to you. And until that time, stay safe, enjoy your time with your family, and remember that even though I'm going to blow this candle out right now, Jesus is still with us.